Hello again, everybody. I'm Larry Hamilton. Welcome to my YouTube painting channel. Thank you for watching. Today we're going to do a watercolor painting, and it's another sunset scene that kind of getting into this last few months. I've done, I think this will be my third one this year. It's a photo I'm going to show you in a minute from a photographer in Whitefish, Montana. His name is Jack Bell Photography, and he's been so nice to let me use some of his photos for my painting sessions. So I want to give him credit. I'll be putting some links to his Facebook page here at the end of the video, and I'd like for you to look at his photography. It's really pretty amazing. That area of the country, you know, I'm from Montana. I'm not from Montana. I like to go to Montana, I should say, and a lot of the places he photographs are favorite places of mine. So I should be able to get some nice photographs from him to use on my painting channel here, so I'm looking forward to that. Second thing I want to tell you is I've really changed my setup here today. My entire studio for watercolor painting here has been modified. I've got cameras in different places, and I've got different controls on them, and I'm going to probably screw up a couple times today, but you may have to just put up with that if you're watching live. I'll probably be able to take out some of the screw ups when I edit the video and repost it after in a couple days. Anyway, I wanted to tell you that I've got normally I would have my painting surface up here on this whiteboard, and it's not here today. So I've got another thing I want to show you in a minute, but first I want to go over to my computer and show you the photographs that I'm using for reference. They are also down in the links to them are on my website, and you can get to those from my website to download them and use them for your painting. So hold on, I'm going to go to my computer now. I'll talk to you for just a few seconds there, and I'll come right back and we'll start the painting. Okay, I'm at my computer now. Here I am at my computer. This is a photograph. It's a portrait format, so it's longer, taller than it is wide. And the one that was showing on the screen here probably looks like it was going to be landscaped version, but this has got such beautiful colors in it. It's a beautiful sunset in an area of Montana called Whitefish. If you've never been to Whitefish, Montana, they might put that on your list. It's a beautiful place to visit in Montana. The only other photo I'm going to show you is just a black and white version of this, which helps you see the values. They're really dark darks here. It's pretty much made for about 4 different values in this whole thing. So I use that, as you know, to kind of guide my the darks and lights in my painting process. So with that in mind, I'm going to go right back over to my easel now, and we'll get started, and we'll talk you through the paints and the brushes, show you my new setup, and see if we can make this happen. Okay, so you have here, you're seeing my my palette here with my brushes and paints, so I'll talk you through that right now before I show you the rest. And so this is my Sterling Edwards palette, and it has my big brushes here, my big bristle brushes that I use for blending and sometimes for wetting the paper down. I may not use those a lot today, but I have them available. I have a couple of flats, a 1-inch flat and a 1/2 inch flat. I have about 3-4 rounds here, 3 rounds. I have a 12, a number 8, number 4. I have a script liner, a couple of script liners here. So I'll be using those. Those will be available for me to use as we paint. Let me go back and also have here that you haven't been able to see before, because I've got a different camera. I have a camera mounted right overhead, just over my palette. I don't like the lighting on it. I'm going to have to work on the lighting, so it's a little too dull for me right now. But anyway, and so here's my 2 water containers. I have one I try to keep clean with no paint in it. The other one I use for painting and wash out my brushes. I also have this blotter over here that's really made up of paper towel wrapped around a roll of toilet tissue. So it really makes a really good blotter. You'll see me going from my palette to my water to that blotter to my paint and back and forth. You'll see me doing that here, which you may not have been able to see before because I could never show you my my paints. So let me go back now to, I'm going to show you the paper I'm working on. This is a setup here that's basically this is called a gator board. It's just a mounting board, and it's designed for like a 1/2 sheet of watercolor paper, but I have like a 1/4 sheet of watercolor paper on here. I have my photographs here at the top I'm going to use for reference. Underneath it I have a couple of 1-inch rolls of masking tape, and so that raises it up just slightly, so I can have it on a slight tilt here, and be dang. Sorry about that, folks. As soon as I started talking, had a thunderstorm going through here, and it just blew out my entire computer, my internet connection and everything. So I hope you're seeing this now, and if you are, please put something in the chat window and let me know that you're watching, and I will get going here. So anyway, I was explaining to you my board here, which is this Gator board, and so I have my really light sketch on here. I really don't have a sketch per se. I just took a pencil, just a regular pencil here, and just kind of drew in some of my lines where I want the horizon to be a little bit below center, and some of the mountains in the background, left some room for the trees. It's fairly simple composition actually, but we're going to try to get some value out of it by having the sort of the beautiful colors, and try to put some of that into this and make it be a little more meaningful. So I think that's all I wanted to tell you. I wanted to show you this board. It is tilted, and that's the reason I'm trying this, is because so I can get a board that's more flat and not as vertical. When I paint on my when I paint up here on this panel, everything's vertical and the water tends to run, and I'm just getting a little tired of that. I've been doing this way for about 5 years with watercolor. Works fine with oil paintings, of course, but it doesn't work great with watercolor. So we're going to go back and use this technique here of oops, I'll get my right one here. Okay, so now I have my paper. It's vertically mounted in portrait format, and we're going to get going. So let's get going here. I'm going to put a little water on here just to add just a little moisture so that I can have a little bit of blending here in the sky. So I take my water and get clear water in my brush and just kind of very lightly just touch this. This is 300-pound Fabbro Artistico watercolor paper. 300-pound is really pretty heavy, and so it absorbs a ton of water, and I'm not going to put a ton of water on it. I'm just getting it damp. And down here where the sky is going to reflect into the water in front of us, I'm going to put just a light coating down here so that I have just a little bit of moisture in there before I start putting paint on it. And if I need to tip it, I've got this board loose, so I can actually tip it, or I don't even have the paper all the way down. I can actually tip the paper up, and if I need to get a little running going on or something. But that's about all the water I'm going to put on this thing. And it may start to move and curl on me, I don't know. But anyway, that's that color. I hope you're all back with me. If you are, please indicate on the chat window here, and let me know that you're around. It looks like we have about 16 people watching, so I guess you must have gotten back online with me here. All right, so I want to start with the sky, and I'm going to try to see if I can get this color. It's a beautiful orange. I'm going to use my brilliant orange. The thing I didn't do, I didn't go around my palette and give you my colors in my palette. So let me do that very quickly now, and I'll bring the palette up so it's a little easier to see. I have here, this is my standard palette. If you watch other watercolors, you'll know what this is. This is Payne's Gray, Cobalt Blue, Ultramarine, Deep Blue, Royal Blue, Permanent Violet, Green, Gray, Umber. This is Burnt Sienna, Quinacridone Scarlet, Bright Rose, Brilliant Orange, which I just put in my palette, Quinacridone Gold, which I'll be using, Permanent Yellow, and Lemon Yellow. So I'm going to be using those colors, some of those colors. I don't know how many I'm going to use, but I'm just trying to get a start here with this sort of this nice peachy color. I'm going to use this Brilliant Orange with quite a bit of water in it and just see what happens here. Since it is a little wet, it's got a little more, maybe add a little purple in that just at the top here, and just sort of give us a nice soft orange type color for this sky. That paper is pretty well dried out already, if you can even tell that. I don't know if you can tell it or not, but it doesn't take much. It absorbs a lot of water, and it dries out very quickly. And so I'm just going to come down with the sky here and try to get just a little more orange in it as we go down. Maybe pick up a little of this gold. Put a little of my quinacridone gold in there. That's a beautiful color. And start putting a little of that in here and behind these mountains. And I'm just going to add some more water, let it blend out, blur out, and just sort of let it go. Add a little bit more of my violet up here at the top. This is the first time I've tried painting this way without having the paper totally fastened down. It's the first time I did try one last month to do a seascape. Yeah, it was a seascape, but it was also a sunset scene. And so I'm going to, one of the things I meant to do before I got distracted here, I've got another camera. The camera that I was just talking to you on, I've got it set so I can actually tip it down, and I'll show you what that means. Here's what it looks like. So I have my paper here. Actually, my palette's in the way here. I haven't tried this before, so I don't know. But you might be able to see a little bit of my painting when I get down here in some of these details. The sky is not that exotic, but anyway, so I've got that available if I want to use it. And I'm going to go back to my paper now. So this is my top view. So I have two cameras on top of my surface here, and I don't want to get too much in there. I want to go back, and now I want to put a little bit more in the bottom here. This is really a little more, has a little more purple in it. So I'm picking up some of that. And a little more of this orange and some of this yellow. Pull it in there. Some water, just sort of putting a little water on this paper to get a little bit wet again. The water really looks nice if you can get it nice and softly blended. But it's actually got a little more purpleness in this area here. And it even gets darker at the top. I'm going to put a little Payne's gray on this in this area. If I can get a little more darker there. So along here, along my horizon line, throw a little bit in there. This has a nice smokiness to it. It's got a, get some water here. Right in here, I want to sort of lighten this up a little bit with just some clear water. Put this little bit of this fogginess in here. Might as well put it in now. I can lift this water out, or this paint out, and we'll do that. And maybe a little more dark in here. I don't know if you can hear the rain hitting on my studio here, but it's still coming down out there pretty strong. And I knew it was going to do that. I saw the weather report before I started, but I had no idea it was going to crash my power in my house. Fortunately, it wasn't out that long, and we didn't have to lose you guys. I think maybe I lost some of you, but at least we're getting going now. So put this a little more dark up here in the top, maybe just to add a little more texture to it. Okay, so that's kind of what I wanted to let you see with the nice sort of blended sky coming down. I'm really trying to hold this paper down so it doesn't buckle up on me. It's actually trying to bend and curl up. I don't know if you can see that, but if I'd taped the bottom down here, I probably wouldn't have this problem. But again, I'm trying this stuff for sort of the first time here, so I want to so I'm just using this 1-inch brush for about everything so far. These mountains here are going to be sort of a bluish color, bluish, and going to have a little ultra blue, I guess, in them, and a little bit of my Payne's gray, and so I'm going to try to put those in. Might be a little bit early, but I think that paper's pretty dry back there right now. So let's just come in here and start putting in a little bit of this sort of a steel blue color back here. And we'll just, it's Payne's gray and ultramarine. And I'm just putting it now. This is wet on dry. So put it in like this, come down and get a little more down this way here. The horizon's clear down here, so I got a row of trees I'm going to put below here. So I'm going to just go ahead and paint this down and let it filter into the area where the trees are going to be. And I'll come back and maybe take a swipe out of that with my a wet brush and leave a little fog in there if we can. The brush, if I take a wet brush and just suck the water out of it, come back here and go across, I can actually pick up the other brush I could use for this, which I want to show you as well. This this bristle brush that is very good for this kind of thing. It's used for a lot of blending, but if I get it wet and just take some of the water out, I can come along the bottom here, and this bristles will actually pick up that paint that's on there and give me this look of fog at the bottom of these mountains. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to come back, let that dry a little bit. I'm going to come back and put the other trees below it. But I just want to get that in and see how that looks. I think it's starting to look pretty good. I'm going to maybe darken it down just a little. It was really considerably darker than that. So let me put another layer on here, see if I can get a little bit more dark in some of these areas. It's all in silhouette, so you've heard me maybe talk more about silhouettes when you're painting. Your camera, your digital camera, and these photographs are no different. Digital cameras tend to take the light background and it closes the lens down so that it kind of makes a really dark foreground. So that's what's happening here. It's sort of all been darkened beyond what it would probably be if you were really there. So I'm just going to put in a few brush marks here to indicate what these things might really look like if you were there painting them in person. So far I've only used these two 1-inch brushes, this 1-inch flat, nylon flat, and this 1-inch bristle brush. So anyway, I've got enough smog and fog in there, hopefully. There's a big peninsula here, there's a big peninsula here, and so we're going to just take this. I see I'm getting a lot of kind of a hard line right up here, and I'm going to take this brush and just see if I can taper that out a little bit so that it's not quite as strong. I'm going to come back and put some darker clouds in there, but right now I want to leave it at that. This is still dry down here, so I'm going to get my, I think I'll just continue with this brush here. I'm going to get my green gray out, and because those trees are really a dark green, so I'm going to use a green gray and maybe a little bit of this royal blue, which is a really darkening color, and I'm going to put that in with my green gray. So I'll have the green tone, but I'll also have a dark blue tone, and I'm going to put these in this area here so that they sort of bump up against. It's a little too early to do this, so I should let that dry a little more. Maybe I need to take time and dry this think about that. Yeah, it's too wet, really. I'll put a few in there for right now. I'll come back and maybe dry this a little bit, and I could put some down here. I do have a lot of this same tone down in here. This is all dry. Let me just put a little bit of foliage here, and go ahead and put that in now. And you can always go darker, but you always want to try to put in as light as you can to start with, and then come back and work on it if you have to later. So there's a lot of grass going across here. It's got more yellow in it than I show right now, so I'll throw just a little of this yellow in here. It's almost too much yellow, but let's put a little bit in there. I've got another. These trees are going to come down a little further. And we do have some trees that are up in this area. That's still pretty wet. I'm going to stop and dry this just because it's getting it's bothering me a little bit, so that I don't brush this out a little bit so that it has some. Okay, stop with that. Get my hair dryer out of here. Okay, I'm back, and see if we can go in here in this area. I was trying to put in some trees. I'm going to use my smaller brush, I think. Get my royal blue out here and my green gray together. You can make some really pretty colors with this green gray. So let's put in a little bit of this stuff here. It actually comes down pretty far, actually. Royal blue, green gray. Probably use ultramarine blue with that too if you wanted, but I'm just trying to put in some trees here. I'm going to leave room for some, there's some foreground trees here that I want to leave some room for. This paper is definitely dry, so just using this flat brush, just tapping it down. I'm not trying to paint specific trees with it. I'm trying to give you the impression that there's a whole field and whole bed of trees back here. And move this up a little bit, maybe a little higher over on this side. Put a few more back here. See how that dries out? It dries so much lighter. That's the thing you have to work on with watercolors, is that it dries so much lighter, 20-30% lighter than what you put it on. So when you're putting it on here, you know that it's going to lighten up, and it's going to be a lot lighter when you get finished. I've got another tree that's kind of sticking up here that kind of overlaps some of this, and it goes all the way down into this area below here. So I'm going to work on that after a bit, but right now I just want to get some nice looking stuff in here. Using royal blue and my green gray. All right, I'm getting some stuff there that looks like I want it to. There's some, what I was starting to work on a while ago was some of these trees that have a little bit lighter color in them, and they're sitting right in this area here. So I'm going to just pop in a few of those colors here, put maybe a little more yellow in it than I've got, and let those kind of stick out here in the middle. These are some kind of deciduous trees or something that are floating around in there. Just adds a little color in there that and it helps, I think. It's a very dark painting, dark photo, as I mentioned, and so I want to try to put some lights where I can and where it makes sense. And so I'll just throw a little bit of this lighter color in there, and coming up with some more darks down here. I need more dark than that. So I got this nice ribbon of darks going across here, and okay. So abstractly or impressionistically, this is looking more like I want it to. Putting in some more darks here. We really need those darks to make the light show up, and if you put the darks in, it will just pop those lighter colors out big time, and you can just see them kind of come to life back there. Okay, so we're coming down here now. We've got this area that's a little bit grassy. Yeah, let me see if I can go back and pick a little more of this up, try to pull this together. It does come all the way down. This is get my bigger brush here. Just lay it in here, get a little more of that going. Down here, okay. This has a little bit of an ochre feel to it. Put a little bit of this gold in it. Just change the color a little bit. Do something to make it look a little different, so it's not all one flat color. Okay. And then the bottom of that is it's not real dark, but it's obvious where it connects to the water here. This is the water area right here, so I'm going to see if I can soften that edge a little bit, because I want to get some fogginess here as well. This water is really in a foggy state, so I'm going to just put a little water on here and see if I can lighten that up. I need a little more dry paper towel. Most all my cameras here have batteries on them, so they didn't go down, and my computer actually didn't go down. I have a backup power unit on it, but my internet service at the house went down, so that's what caused this failure to broadcast here. Okay, I'm going to come back and put a little more dark in this area with my purple and my violet, and right in here I want this to be a little darker, adding a little more purple to it. We'll just run it across there like that and let it blend like this. Okay, trying to get a little bit of that foggy, misty look going on here if I can. The photograph is very distinct, has some very beautiful colors in it. This area here is a darker version of, I need more dark than that. So let's get some more green gray and put a little bit of that in here. And okay, so let's let that dry a little bit. I'm going to go up here and work in this sky a little bit. I got sidetracked away from that sky a while ago. So let's get some violet and a little bit of this orange maybe will probably give me the right tone. It needs to be a little browner with a little bit of that orange in it, we'll tone it down just a little. I think that's probably the better color right here. Let's see if I can put in just a few things that look like they're wispy clouds floating over there. A bunch of clouds in this area here. Something like that. Let them float across. And we had a really bright orange in the bottom of that. At least it looks orange to me. It's probably too orange, but let's put it in there and see what it looks like. Soften it up a little bit, let it blend with what's there. Let it run over. Okay. Back and put a little bit more of this purple in there and just soften a little bit of that more. You want the clouds in the photo, they look like they want to be really hard edge, but in a sky you don't want to have really a lot of hard edges. You want to have soft edges as much as you can. So I'm going to let that soak for a few seconds. And come back with my brush here. I'm going to use my this brush, which is the bristle brush, because it has thousands of bristles in there, and it can really take these and soften these things up like this, so that it doesn't look real hard edge. So we can just soften and feather those out like this. I think that looks a little better. I want to come back and touch up these mountains too. I want to put a little more dark on top of those, but right now I'm going to just leave it like this. Put maybe just a little spattering of orange up in here. Just a few more things to give it a little more sky texture. Okay. Take my brush, wipe the water out, and leave it soft and wet, and let it just blend and massage that a little bit so that it gets a nice soft set of colors up there. Okay, I think I'm going to leave that at that, and come back now and see if we can start more down this way. Okay, what am I going to use here? Let's see. Let's get this down here. This is a really lot of foliage again. I'm going to use go back to my colors that I have that are, I'm going to make them probably a little more darker, a little darker than what they were up above, but I just want to put in a lot of foliage here. Kind of comes down and makes a touch with the water, and something like that. And so I want to make this edge look a little soft again, so that it's blending in with the water. Get just a little water on this brush and give it a bit of this type of movement here, like that. Okay. Put a few scrapes and scratches in there to give it, make it look like there are some weeds and whatever there. Over here has got really kind of more of the same. It's just the same kind of dark stuff that we have over here. just looks like marsh grass or some sort of grasses that are all really dark, kind of hard to tell what they are, but I'm going to put in just enough of this to hopefully make it look like it's a little peninsula sitting out there. And of course I had my palette in the wrong place for you people watching live. If you don't like what you see on this live broadcast, when I get this edited, I go back and go over the entire painting, the entire photo video process, and we'll redo this video before I repost it, so I get rid of some of these glitches where maybe I have my palette sticking over what you're watching, and try to correct that as much as I can. Okay, so that's that. Let me see if I can now put just a little water. I'm going to put a little water down here and try to get a little bit of this blending to happen with just clear water. It'll just kind of pull this paint down into the water and give me a little bit of that water look that I'm trying to get out of this. See, that I can tip. I could tip my board up like this and let it run even more. Since I'm not painting vertically, if I were painting vertically, it would be all running down like crazy. So I'm kind of talking myself out of so much vertical painting anymore, at least for watercolors. In this area, I have some of these mountains. I want to copy some of this. Oh yeah, let's put a little bit of water in here, just clear water as much as possible, and then come back and take this color that's kind of the color of the mountains that had that blue in it, steel blue, and just echo it down here as if we're seeing the tops of those mountains down here like this. It sort of goes off like that, and I want it to blend and merge and have some nice soft edges back here like that. Maybe connect these together. A bit of sky color in there, maybe even. There's some of that sky needs to come in. It needs to be wet, soft. Where's that orange go? That orange goes in here somewhere like this. I'm just trying to paint that reflections down here as much as possible. Something like that, and then just soften those edges with some clear water. Okay, I want to put another color in here. I want to redo that color, but I want to let this dry first. Up here, I'm going to go back now and see if I can get some of this really dark color, my green and my Payne's gray. Let's see here. And we're going to start up here, clear up here above these trees, and see if we can pop in. Too much water in my brush. Some of this color that I want to get here. Yeah, there's a big old tree sitting here, and it comes all the way down into this area. So let's pick up some more heavy paint. Really light feathery up here. I've got too much water in my brush, too much paint in my brush. Okay. like that. See how that really light stuff right there, you just do that by getting some paint on the back side of your brush and just laying the brush down almost flat and just letting that pull off whatever it will pull off. It has a very nice, light, soft, feathery edges. Beautiful. So let's do that again. I've got another tree that's kind of sitting here in the same spot and or in the same area here. So I'm going to start putting him in with the back of the brush, a lot of dark paint. And I'm going to run him all the way up to the top as well. So this stuff is looking like it needs some more attention here in the middle because it's getting light on me. See how it turns light? And it's actually, I can see through that paint. These paints are, these are Holbein paints. I don't think I mentioned that in case I forgot. And they're very transparent, so they can show you what's underneath, which is sometimes good and sometimes not so good. So I'm just kind of filling in here now with these. And I'm going to be pulling down some more of these leaves, or not leaves, but these weeds and stuff that are growing here. I want to pull them down the same way here in this area. So I'm putting in the reflections now here. This big tree here has got a big reflection that runs all the way off the page. And this one here has got the same kind of thing. It's got a big reflection. So that's all done with the side of the brush. And if I don't mess it up by putting too much water in it, it will keep that nice hard edges in there. Which is what I really want. But I want to kind of fine tune it a little bit, just get a little darker maybe. It's almost too light and it's going to dry lighter. So I'm going to put just a few more touches in there like that. I'm going to come back and hit this again over here because it's turning out to be too light. This one needs to be taller. I'm going to make him a little taller here, like that. And we'll spread this guy out just a little more here, maybe. All right, so I've got a bunch of dark stuff here. Really looks like it's the way it should be, pretty much. Over here, this looks pretty decent. I'm going to put just a little more dark in the bottom of some of these because it needs a little more differentiation from what's below it, like that. Those mountains, I think they're probably okay. I'm going to come back and just put just a little bit of some tone in there in a few spots because I have this running where it's running over here from the sky. I put the sky in later, so I'm going to come back and see if I can tone that down a little bit, make a little bit of a distinction here between some of these. Just put some texture in there to make it look like it's really a mountain of some kind that's coming down and getting light into the fog. It's getting foggy down here. So I want it to be darker. If I want it to be darker on top, it's going to show like there's fog below it here if I make it darker above, right? So let's just touch this up just a fraction here, same way. And leave the fog in there like that. Soft edges will help that fog tell the story. All right, let me think about that. Probably this middle section could be a little darker, maybe. No, I don't want to run it, but I am going to put just a little more, another coat, another glaze over this, just to tone it down so your eye doesn't go right there all the time. It's a little better. And maybe just a little bit of something at the bottom to delineate it from the water that's below there. This area here, I didn't finish putting in my other little mountain area that looks like kind of reflecting those mountains there. Kind of the way it's actually not the mountains, I'm just reflecting the sky here. That's a little better. Okay, what else? That may be enough. Pull up a few textures in here. You can always come in and put in a few more scrapes and that sort of stuff to lighten some of this area up if you got too much going on here. Maybe something like that. Over on this other side, over here, I actually have some grasses and stuff that actually belong in there that I didn't put in. So I think I'm getting it about done here, folks. This area here, we're going to just throw in some dark, close this corner off. Heard me talk about that before, probably. And get my little script liner here and see if I can throw in a few things with dark. Like that. And let's put a few down here like this. Put a few. Something like that. Got too wet up here on me. So this area of Montana is really a beautiful area. If you ever get a chance to go out there, check out Glacier National Park. Beautiful scenery. Jack Bell Photography does a lot of photos out there in that area. Has some wildlife. He has the goats and the moose and all kinds of things like that. So if you can check out his Facebook page, I'll put the link in here, and it needs to be darker there. All right, that's pretty decent, I think. I'm going to take that off and put the, and I'm going to raise up my other camera here so I can talk to you for a second and say thank you for watching. And I hope this hasn't been too distracting. I'm sorry I had a power failure, but it's the first time that's happened in over 5 years. I've been doing this broadcasting and live classes, actually. So anyway, I hope you like it. Check out my Facebook page. If you like this, please share it with your friends, and visit my Facebook page, my website. You can get the original photo from my website. Check out Jack Bell Photography on Facebook, and check out Antonio Romo for the piano music if you like that music I was playing before we started. And I think that's all I want to tell you now. And so until the next time I see you, this is Larry Hamilton saying so long for now. Bye-bye.